Hello there and welcome to my reaction to Too Fancy Too Furious Wine. It's second episodes, Too Fancy Too Furious makes sense. Let's begin. I don't have much to say. I don't drink a lot of wine, so I'll probably find out a lot more new things.
Come here, little fella. I want to tell you a secret. I'm just like you. We're both down here in the dirt. Mine just
Well.
happens to be imported. You are fighting in traffic, and I am fighting charges of trafficking. We're so similar. You're working a 9-to-5 job, and I
Is this a
am
convention?
having to look at that. We're both going through it. So don't hate me. I'm not the problem. It's the wine snobs. They're the ones that look down on you.
Yeah, what wine do you
Frankly,
drink?
I don't blame him.
Yeah, okay.
No, he's learning. Listen, let me pull you up by your bootstraps. What if I made you my
Wow,
little
look, they're
Pygmalion? That's a reference that you wouldn't get.
True.
You know what? Perhaps I shall make a series of videos that will give you some sort of clue about fancy things.
Dan
Yes,
Vinci.
that's what I'll do. Something to give you just enough information to bluff your way through a fancy dinner.
Did you know that Dan Vinci painted the Mona Lisa?
Somebody had to hold open the gates for the barbarians. Why not me? So let's do it. Let's look at
YouTube money is treating him well.
wine. The Mountain Dew of upper society.
Yeah.
With wine, there is
that looks
only
worse
one
somehow.
rule. Kill or be killed.
No, the game was rigged from the start.
And if you want to survive the night, here are 6 things you should know about wine.
Oh, sick. Okay. Watch Mojo 6
To you, muggles,
things.
the words on these bottles must seem like a mystery.
Pie not no ire?
But us
Pinot
landlords,
Noir.
we, the pink Himalayan salt of the earth, we know what they mean. They
Where is this
are
even from?
grape names. Look upon this grapevine. It makes grape berries. Now, there are many different
It's a
species
great
of
grape
grape
wine.
berry. And whatever the berry species is will determine the type of wine. This is Chardonnay, so it will make Chardonnay.
I thought it was just a name,
grapes,
alright.
They make Merlot wine.
I already learned
Grape
something.
names are mostly French. Gross. But for example, in
I
English,
agree there.
Pinot Noir means black pine, because it kinda looks like a black pine cone if you squint. Here's some of the other names. You can pause it. I'm busy.
I'm not
Wine
pausing
grapes
it.
are not like the kind you get at the supermarket. Those are table grapes. You can think of it kind of like the difference between cooking chocolate and regular chocolate. You can eat them, but they're overly sugary and kind of full of seeds and just not as nice to snack on. So the grape type is the
okay.
main word on the bottle, but sometimes there are other words as well.
There's a lot of
For
words.
example, this Bourgogne. What the hell is a Chablis? It's all regions. Allow
Yeah,
me to explain.
That I gathered.
Of song.
Please don't.
There's Chianti and Piedmont. Also, there's Burgundy. Don't forget Chablis Bordeaux. This one's from Italy. This one's from Italy. This one's from France. This one's from France. This one's from France. This one's from France. They're all from France. We're Italy. Look, the general rule is,
Okay.
if you see a term you don't understand,
Very
it's probably
compact
just the
area
French
or
or the Italians
all made.
being all la-di-da about their particular region. All right, let's move on to price. Come on, I know a place. We're here. I can tell by the name on the sign. Now, don't embarrass me, I
Liquor.
didn't bring my ID. Fiddle-TD, look at all these bottles. So many options. Ooh, a cheeky $200 bottle. And here,
Oh my god.
oh, a $20 bottle. Now, I bet this $200 bottle tastes way better, right? Like it's got to be
Well-
10 times better than this one. That's just basic
No.
math. Go on, though. You choose one. Oh, no. Well, it was supposed to be a trick question, but they both taste pretty similar, right?
Yeah.
There's not some threshold that you get to where it gets more expensive, and then it tastes better, and then more expensive again, and it tastes even better, until it gets so expensive and so incredible that it's
Oh
like
my
nothing
God.
you've ever had before. Break through the conditioning. This is just old grape juice.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a little bi-curious about a more expensive bottle, sure, why not?
Gold letters grace the label, hand engraved by goldsmiths. Famed wine critic described the taste as mind-boggling.
But realistically, after about $60, the flavor doesn't get much better. In fact, it plateaus out and it can even go down. The best quality to price ratio is
I mean, it's like
all the
branding
way
and
over here, much
the
lower,
age.
about $20. That's how much you should spend on a bottle of wine. Now, some people
Okay.
will say,
that I'm putting my heart and soul.
I only
into
bought
this
bottles
thing.
that cost
I'm
around
making of art
5
a form of art. How much is that worth? How much is art worth?
at the time.
About
Now it's like
20
3,
bucks.
4.
but what about the Vintage?
That
look at this.
brings the price
A
up.
couple of cromulent slender necks. And they're the same price as well. But this one is from 2019, and this one is from 2022.
Hey, they're the
Well,
same.
Surely the older one is the better one, right? No. Many people think that the wine aging goes like this, and the flavor just keeps getting better over time.
Well, it's plateau at some point.
The wine at the store has already been aged at the winery. I don't need to be more aged by sitting on this shelf and just collecting dust, or spending years at the back of your
I mean,
pantry
yeah,
at
it's
home.
aged in
If I'm for sale,
kegs.
I'm ready to be consumed. I'm ready to
when it's
have
in the
your
bottle,
hot
it doesn't
lips
matter
wrapped
no more,
around.
I guess.
In fact, the general rule goes a corked bottle should be drunk within 5 years, and a capped bottle within 1 year. Come, there's more. Let's pretend
Come.
I'm a waiter at a restaurant. You happen to be wearing a shirt, and so I have mistaken you as a paying customer. As a waiter, the first thing I will press you about will be food pairing.
Fair enough.
White wine with fish? A Merlot with pork? Well, kid, I'm gonna have to pair this truth nugget with something you don't want to hear. The food pairing
Love
doesn't
nuggets.
really matter. It's all
Oh, really?
completely subjective.
Well, I mean, it makes
cuisine
sense, yeah.
by horoscope.
If you like it, you
It's
like it.
food astrology. Pay no attention to the sommeliers in the comment section.
That's a
They are bullshitting to
good
upsell.
comparison, I guess.
Get the more expensive one. It goes better with the spaghetti.
Or they are a Pisces and you shouldn't trust their opinion anyway. Something else to expect at a restaurant?
Pisces
Expect
is
to get
fish,
ripped
so
off by the markup.
Good
Most
choice
restaurants add
in
a
the wine video, I guess.
250
Probably
to
the point.
300% markup on their wine. And the cheaper the bottle, the higher the proportional markup tends to be. So a $20 bottle will turn into an $80 bottle, but a $100 bottle may only rise to $150. Most people
I mean,
get
yeah,
the
not to
second
show
cheapest
this
bottle
cheap.
on the menu, regardless of the pairing, and that'll do just fine. And that's it. No more tips, unless you want to leave me one. Actually, you know what? I got a fucking tip for you, mate. Ad time.
Oh.
I bet you're wondering
Oh,
how I
more
got
actual
this
tips.
cog in my knee. That's because I became the face of Incogni, the service that helps you be forgotten on the internet. I used to be a
is it?
humble
Oh, is it
florist.
like
One
account
day we
dilution?
received a shipment of forget-me-nots. But inexplicably I fell in and ate a bunch of them. I forgot everything that day. My address, my web browsing habits, where I worked, what my child's face looked like. I was supposed to pick him up from daycare, so that was kind of embarrassing. I just picked one of the kids that kind of looks like me.
Oui, monsieur.
Close enough. Have you ever signed up for some dodgy website? Have you ever dodged up
Yes.
for a legitimate website and they sell all your details onto a dodgy website?
Oh,
That's
definitely,
where
yes.
I come in. Incogni man and Anonyboy. There are data miners out there, data collectors, creating big servers all around the world. They take your name, your address, and your IP, and together they make a big profile, and that lives forever. I am here to send
Mr.
them
Bust.
annoying legal notices to tell them to f*** off. Take Steve off your database. European law this, American law that. Go to incogni.com/internet store to get
Okay.
60% off an annual plan. The cog signal. I swoop into the data centers. Legal notice. Tangle up their processes with admin. Who are you? I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. Inganokni Nam. Go to incogni.com/internet historian.
Okay.
Incogni.
Oh, I was only want to
Remember
say
me? Yes.
cyberpunk music.
No. Who's the kid? Oh, that's a good deal.
I want to say
Over.
an ad from
Welcome to the
NordVPN.
wine
Rare.
underground. We have our meetings here because it stays at a very pleasant temperature. You know, us wine masons, we control everything. We are few, but many. That doesn't make sense. Look at the back of
Illumi
this one.
Viney.
See the No Fat Chicks logo? We
Oh.
put that there. It is the symbol of our organization. We have a dirty finger in every glass of government and corporation stuff. If you cross us, oops, perhaps you'll have a little accident. Last year, Little Upstart tried to make wine actually taste good. You know, like how grape soda does. Cut him up so good he had to get stitches. We caught one reporter trying to dig
did a
around
surgery on
into
the
our
grape.
operations. We all
grape
know how
wine.
that one ended. With an airstrike.
Oh.
All right, my little juice box. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Why is champagne called champagne? Well, I'll tell you.
It's a
It
sham.
all began in 1668.
Okay.
In the Abbey of St. Peter in northeast France, there's something spooky going on.
I always seen champagne
It's
and wine
springtime.
kind of similar, so let's
And
see.
in the cellar where they keep all the wine, bottles would suddenly, unexpectedly,
Disappear.
explode.
Oh. Oh,
Now, this was especially common during morning mass. Ho ho, that's a bad omen. Sometimes the explosions would cause little chain reactions, and bottle after bottle.
does champagne have,
would
like,
break
bubbles
down
in
the
it and
line,
wine
ruining
doesn't?
The majority of the crop. The peasants were frightened and also parched.
Sacre Bleu, lay wine. What is happening?
The monks would refer to this as the devil's wine.
Ley wine is cursed.
Legod, he must be anger at us. We need a hero.
Legard?
In walks Dom
No,
Perignon. He
it's
is
all in
just
your
the man
heads.
for the job. A Benedictine monk at the abbey. He's got a new role, the cellar master. And it's his mission to find out what the hell is going on here. So
Cellar
Dom starts
detective.
looking at all the bottles. And what he figures out pretty quickly is that the wine itself is releasing gas.
Yeah.
The gas builds up pressure and... why that is happening, he doesn't know. But it's his job to
Some
stop
chemical
it.
reaction
So he gets to work,
from being
trying
too
all
old.
sorts of things to stop his mortal enemy. The bubbles. In the first year, he tried insisting that only the youngest grapes be picked.
Perhaps this will stop your bubbles.
And it didn't. The next year, he changed up how the grapes were pressed.
Push harder. We'll squeeze out the bubbles.
Son of a bitch. He tried picking the grapes very early in the morning and no other time. Nope. And on
Okay.
and on. The bubbles would win the battle every year. For 8 long years, he tried all sorts of different things. And no strategy worked.
Carbonated is the word I was looking for.
Eventually, he was at the point of almost
Champagne is
giving up.
carbonated and
Until
wine
one
isn't.
day,
That's
hey, what if the wine is still fermenting? So he takes a couple of the bottles and he opens them and, it is. We ferment the wine. Once it's done, it goes into the bottle. How does it then start fermenting again? How is that possible? And here the mystery was solved. So it turns out in North France they have very fast changing seasons. And owing to that, the yeast doesn't actually get time to do its job. Instead, it would get cold very quickly in the winter and all the yeast would go dormant. Then the winemakers would go, oh brilliant, fermentation slowed down, it must be done. They would then bottle it
And then
they would
warms up
store it.
and
But
comes
once summer
back.
came back around, the process would spring back to life and carbon dioxide would build up and... Oh, he thinks, I cannot change the climate. Perhaps I shall not win the war against the bubbles. Now, the
But he can
bubbles
profit
are
from
his
the war,
enemy, and he has
as people
another
do.
enemy. The English. Therefore, the enemy of his enemy or something. Anyway, he starts talking to the English and he goes, "Hey, how do you guys stop your bottles from exploding?" And the British go,
You what, mate? Core! Well, peep at how thin the bloody glass be in it. Thin glass is the problem. Thank you for using this text-to-speech preview. For a paid version, please go to...
See, the English have created new coal-fired bottles with much thicker glass. Then they put a cork in the top, and it allows them to make very foamy beer. That's right, he could just use thicker bottles and he won't have to worry about stopping the bubbles at all. So Dom goes running back to France. He's panting, he's sweating, and there's bits of brie on his shirt. He's going, better bottles, better bottles. Everyone's confused and terrified, but they give it a shot. And there it was. The people of France loved it.
I love this new style.
Even the French royals were enjoying new wine, TM. He even started adding extra yeast and sugar to really get the bubbles going. And so Dom Perignon had created what we call today champagne. Now, there's a 19th century marketing campaign that
What does
says
the word
moment
mean?
he uncorked his champagne for the first
So
time,
anything?
he tried it and said, come quickly, I am tasting the stars." But that's actually a myth. He never really said that.
Oh.
But
Okay, I won't say
there's still
sure
a
you do.
problem. And this one, Dom cannot fix. The pulp. If you bottle wine while it's still fermenting, so that you can keep the bubbles in, you're also trapping in a bunch of dead yeast and debris and gross particles too.
Ew, yeah.
Also, it's all cloudy. No, we want it clear. We want it crystal looking. How will we ever solve this problem? Dom dies. 1805,
Well.
in walks Madame Clicquot.
Ooh.
She's just the man for the job.
And you cellar
I'm also
detective.
French. I have come to remove all the little beats. I will clench my teeth together and go pitu back into the bottle.
Ew.
Madame Clicquot
Don't.
was a very shrewd lady. Her husband died when she was in her early 20s,
My husband is dead. Lol.
and part of the estate she was bequeathed included a
That's
winery.
suspicious.
She immediately got to work, making it into a successful business.
I shall invent a process called lay riddling.
Here's what you do, right? You put these
Ask the
bottles
wine a weird
on
question.
rack at a 35-degree angle with the top facing down.
Uh-huh.
Every 2 days, she would give the bottle a little shake and slightly increase the angle. After 8 to 10 weeks, all of the sediment would come to rest in the neck of the bottle. All right, quick tangent.
Well,
Did you know
that
that
makes
when
sense.
you increase the salt concentration in water, you can drop its temperature down much lower without it freezing? Tangent over. So she takes this
that's why
sub-zero
oceans don't
salt
freeze.
water and dips the neck of the bottle
think.
in there. Then lets it sit until the neck freezes. Now you have a sort of frozen cork filled with all of the gross pulp, and then you simply pop off the top. And the whole thing goes shooting out as a fun prank for your friends and family. Then they add in
Yeah,
a little
shrapnel.
more extra base wine and sugar and leave it to age. And with that, Clicquot has just created a clear, sparkling wine. And that is Ridley. And Madame Clicquot is...
Hey, I made this joke.
So Dom Perignon and Madame Clicquot are both credited as the
My joke was
godfather
objectively
and
worse, but I
godmother
was the
of
first.
Champagne. Today, the Dom and Clique brands are owned by LVMH, the same parent
Oh,
company
no,
that
it's a
owns
monopoly.
Louis Vuitton, Tag Heuer, Tiffany & Co., Hennessy. Actually, pretty much every luxury brand. But
Quite a
why
big
is it
monopoly, all right.
called Champagne?
Yes, that's what
Well, that's
I
because
was.
it comes from the Champagne region, you dummy.
Oh.
And anything else with bubbles is just sparkling wine.
That makes sense. Oh, is that it? No. Not in that sense.
Oh, it's you. I was just looking out over the sunset. You know how it is.
On your vineyards.
Thinking about stuff that happened in the past. I remember it all too well. It was literally 1984.
It's just like 1984.
I was walking
Now we
home
got no
with my
privacy no
parents
more.
from the opera.
Come on, keep up. We're nearly there.
Hey, let's take a little shortcut.
What are you,
they
wine
said.
man?
We can cut through here.
We were walking down a well-lit alleyway. It was nothing but quaint restaurants and bistros. Then suddenly, a man holding a bottle of Shiraz came out of nowhere. "Just a tipple," he said. I was terrified. I knew nothing about wine. "Go on," he said. My hands were shaking, knees weak, arms heavy. Complex aroma, wouldn't you say?
Oh, no mouse spaghetti, nothing.
Very good tannins? Oh, really? Yep. What's a tannin? I don't know. My parents died from embarrassment.
No,
right there on
they
the
died of riddling. Because the young historian couldn't...
Just a tipple.
I guess it's before internet historian.
It's too late for
Couldn't
me,
say,
but
couldn't
I
answer
don't
the
want
riddle.
the same thing to happen to you. That's why we have to learn about how to serve wine.
Okay.
So you've bought a
I don't
bottle
really
of
drink
wine to show
anymore,
your
but
friends and family how successful and
maybe this will be
sophisticated
useful at some
you
point.
are. Did you know that Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa? So let's go through how to serve the big three. White, red, and champagne. Let's say you've bought champagne. That bottle goes in the fridge. Champagne is served cold always. To open, peel off the foil and do not aim it at your face.
Yeah.
Then twist off the metal thing. If you want people to think you're fancy, use the proper word, muselette.
Muselet.
It helps to contain the pressure. Again, don't
like
aim
a
this thing
muzzle.
at your face. It's
Oh my
really
God.
worth repeating.
So many black eyes
PSI
happened,
inside
by the
a
way.
champagne bottle is 70 to 90. That puts it in the same league as a nail gun. So the cork
like a
comes
cork
out at about
gun.
50 miles an hour. And if you're in a house, you want to hold onto it very firmly with your hand. If you're Bezos, or you just won the Grand Prix, fling it over some ladies. But if you want
Ew.
to be really fancy, you can use a sword. This has been a tradition for a couple hundred years, popularized by Napoleon. After
Oh.
each victory, the army would use their sabers to crack one open for the boys. But the sword's just ceremonial. You can use pretty much any blunt object to knock off the top.
Yeah, it just
Phone,
happens because of
a
pressure.
shoe, this fish head.
Technically
If
a
it's cold,
sword.
It shouldn't fizz over too much, but you might want to have someone on the side with a ready glass. The glass type should either be a tulip or a flute. Although, if you've seen The Great Gatsby, you may notice that they use these. Up until the mid-1900s, people used coupes. That's because, back in the day, excessive effervescence wasn't very cool. So these cups helped actually dispel the bubbles faster. In
Yeah,
fact,
it's more
sometimes
surface
they'd even
area.
use a small whisk or a fork to dissipate all the bubbles.
Okay.
Now, there's actually an old myth that the shape and size of the coupe was molded from one of Marie Antoinette's buboes. But it's probably not true.
Okay, yeah. Sounds weird. But they are French,
Eventually, bubbles became a fancy feature, so the flute was adopted. They can be made from glass, but preferably they're made from crystal, so that they shimmer as much as possible. And the best
so you can
flutes
ding, ding,
would
ding.
also feature a small rough spot right there at the center of the glass at the bottom to create a sort of tornado of bubbles. Anyway, as you pour, tilt sideways so it isn't all head, and don't pour more than 2/3 full. Done. White wine. White wine is best served.
If you're pouring
chilled
anything that
to
bubbles, you
10 to
should
15 degrees
hold
though,
the
not
cup.
fridge cold.
Like
Use a
45 degree
small
angle,
glass
maybe more.
bottle and pour to about half full.
Especially
And when
something
you
like
drink,
beer
give it
that has a
sniff test and aerate it.
like a lot of bubbles at the
Then
top
hold
or
it
whatever.
down
I don't
low
know
on the
how to
stem
call it.
so your hands don't heat up the liquid. If it's not to your taste, cut it with 50% Sprite and add a few ice cubes. Done. Reds. Red wine is not chilled. It is served at room temperature. When you first open it, you're supposed to let it sit for a while to oxidize. That
Oh,
gives it
really?
more flavor. Although, if you don't want to wait, you can just pour it into a decanter. That does the same thing.
And
To
also
drink
has a lot
from,
of
we want
surface
big
area.
Bowl on a stick, so you get a full face of the aromas of the grape blood. When you pour the thing,
funny,
fill
man.
it about 1/3 full. That's pretty much it. However, when it comes to wine snobbery, red wine snobbery is at the top of the
Yeah.
Maslow hierarchy.
Crushed white rock. It's like almost like a rock quarry.
Oh my god, shut up.
That wasn't
And
red
there's
wine
a
even.
taste testing thing that people do, and they all go a bit mental, and it's kind of gross, and it looks dumb. But if
Yeah.
you think you're ready for the ultimate test, ready to take the one-chip challenge of enology, Then here's how you do it. When the waiter comes over, insist on taking a teensy sample. Inspect for color, clarity, and legs. Legs refers to how viscous the wine is.
Oh.
Smell it. Smells like a red wine. Swirl it around on the table, making a loud
Looks like red wine.
so that everyone knows.
Smells
you're a
like one.
connoisseur.
Swirling the wine glass is almost like turning up the volume on the stereo.
When you taste it, you're supposed to get it over every part of your mouth, so that when you brush your teeth later, it's awful. Then take in big sips of air. This
To
is where you
oxidize it
comment
more?
on the texture and taste.
Okay.
Complex notes! You yell across the room. Now this is the best part. You can just make shit up about vanilla smatterings or citrusy undercurrents. I swear, there's a hint of blueberry. It's one of those things that's kinda true, but subjective enough that no one can really refute you.
Yeah.
So make a big show of it.
There is a little bit of a
Taste is
earthiness,
extremely
almost a
subjective.
graphite clay note to this.
It's a little bit meaty. It's a little bit sort of rustic.
There are definitely hints here of Monster Ultra sugar-free. If this is a taste test and you're sampling dozens of wines, you want to
It's
spit out the
Gamerfart
sample
9000.
into this gross bucket so you don't get too drunk. Do
Really,
not
because I
ask
use the same
waiter
mug.
If you can drink from the bucket. It's the waiter's privilege, and he's very protective of it. And that is how to serve wine.
Just gets thrown out. What a waste.
Okay, that's a lot of shitting on wine, people.
And we shouldn't get bullied.
But let me do a quick
Yeah, you
180.
should.
Because overall,
Nice 360.
wine is good. And a little wine snobbery can be good also. Being into wine is one of the great dad hobbies. One day you will have a model train set in your basement, complete
No,
with
I
a little
won't.
walking path and the grass just right.
No.
The best part about this hobby is building the thing, getting it just perfect.
That
and
is
then
true.
making people sit
I
there
would
while
enjoy
you
building
explain
one.
the little trains in excruciating detail of how they work. Now, the fun of Warhammer, that's when you save up for the little Space Marine man, you take him out of the packet, you put on a podcast with some
Painting it.
Warhammer in the background,
Of all the Primarchs, Horus is the best kisser.
and you slowly paint it yourself. And then you argue with your mates later about why the Necrophiles are the best race. There are people who
I
spend,
don't
like,
think that's
tens
what
of
they
thousands
called.
of
Alright.
dollars on coffee machines and equipment. And then it takes like an hour to make a coffee, and it's like only 5% better, maybe, than the ones you get at the cafe. Now, I could be Mr. Killjoy and come in and go, "What's
Also
the
very
point of that?
subjective.
Why not just buy it from the cafe? Why not just get a pre-painted Space Marine? Why not have someone else just install the train set?" But then there's no ceremony, there's no fun, there's no hobby. Wine is very similar.
Yeah, it all
Getting
depends
a
on the
little
person.
bit too
It
obsessive
depends on
about the
person.
thing.
Different people
And
enjoy
being
different
like,
things about their
Lemon
hobbies.
zest as well, lemon pip.
Maybe someone will like to collect figurines of Warhammer, but they don't really care about painting them. And some would actually rather have fewer figurines, but the ones that they've painted themselves.
And you fucking wine loser snobs, you know what? You're all right.
This is the actual the end. Nope.
And that's about it. There's just one last thing left. The practical. Come on, my little nouveau biche. I booked out a whole restaurant.
What did you call me?
They serve some of the best blue whale caviar here. All right, you did it. You sat through the whole video without crying. I think this calls for a toast. Steady now. Whoop.
So you're in prison. Wine historian.
I can't believe you killed again. But it's okay. I feel like we're becoming close friends who can keep secrets and stuff. And because
That's
we're
why
such
I'm
close
recording
friends,
this.
I'm going to keep teaching you things. That's right. You're going to be just like me.
I don't want to be a New
I
Zealander.
just cannot tell which of this is blood and which wine. By the way, this is the second video. If you haven't seen the first one,
Isn't wine
which is
wine-
on Fancy at the Theatre.
What?
Go look
Isn't
at
red wine good to take blood?
also
Like to
Fancy
get blood out of a
Arts on
like carpet?
Incognito.
Something
That's
like
already
that?
live, and there's the
Where's
next
the white wine?
Incognito on its way.
For red. I don't know.
Do not forget story mode. Do not forget Incogni. And do not forget
How could I ever forget?
to dream.
Yeah. Anyway. This is good. I don't need to figure out when I can upload this because there is a 48-hour thingy in the beginning. I think I know the about the right hour where it was uploaded. The original video was uploaded, but I'll make sure. However, I enjoyed it, and I appreciate you watching it with me. Thank you. And goodbye. Have a great life, because one of us has to.